Shortly after I purchased this, I made a video. It was in the earlier days of my channel. I didn't really know how to use the software, and to be honest, the review was pants. I believe a watch of this quality, and dare I say price, deserves better. So I've deleted that review, and I've started again with this one. And welcome to my updated review of the Rolex Oytser Perpetual 126000. This was purchased as nearly new in April 2022, almost solely as an investment, although I very occasionally wear it, and then very carefully. Since the beginning of time, Rolex prices have risen. However, I put a stop to that by buying one myself. I don't want to talk figures, but I paid a fair bit over retail. Because the fact is, you can't buy retail unless you either want to wait a long time, or in some cases spend a great deal of money with a retailer in order he puts you at the top of the waiting list. This may sound crazy, but that's the supply and demand scenario Rolex have cleverly created. Some people may well say that Rolex, or indeed any luxury watch, isn't worth the money, and purely from a parts position, they're absolutely right. However, there's a saying that anything is worth what somebody's prepared to pay. I'm the first to admit that if you break it down, this watch is worth nowhere near what it cost me, but that certainly doesn't mean that it isn't a superb piece of horology, because believe me, it is. That said, in my opinion, it's still not perfect. And this is my watch of the day. It's the Marne Greenwich GMT. So this is the Rolex box. Yep, I doubt there isn't a person alive that isn't familiar with it. Of course, like the watches, it's beautifully made. There isn't much more I can say really, apart from it comes with some instructions and a 5-year warranty. I'm going to start with the dimensions, bearing in mind this is a dress watch that's a kind of garter watch as well, and it's made in several different sizes, let alone colours. The case is 36mm, the lug width is 20mm. The depth is just 11.5mm, which includes a sapphire crystal with AR coating, and the lug to lug is 44mm. When adjusted to fit my 17cm wrist, it weighs in at 118 grams. Now in my opinion it wears to size, and it's one of those watches that's so comfortable you forget you've got it on your wrist. One of the things that makes any Rolex expensive is the in-house movement. Inside this is the 3230 high beat automatic caliber. You just know even from hand winding it how good the movement is. It's a 4Hz movement, meaning it ticks away at 28,800 beats per hour, it hacks in hand winds, and it's got an impressive 70 hours of power reserve. Unfortunately, when it's time to have it serviced, which is only about every 10 years, it'll cost you the price of a nice holiday in the Canary Islands. However, if you need a new movement, it's going to cost you about £4,300. Believe it or not, this COSC certified caliber only gains 1 second in every 3 days. That's when it's either on the wrist or left on the watch winder. Let's have a look at it on the time grapher. And this is dialed down. The movement isn't fully round, so the amplitude is a little bit low, but a very good beat error. And look at that rate. The signed 5mm crown screws down to aid the watch's claim 100 metres of water resistance. Now it operates the movement perfectly, and the engagement when screwing it in is buttery smooth. Now the knurling of course is very good, but I have seen better on watches costing a lot less. The case is made of 904L stainless steel, rather than the run-of-the-mill 316L. This gives a greater lustre, and is more resistant to corrosion, however it's softer and more likely to scratch. It amazes me Rolex don't apply an anti-scratch coating to all their watches. Now the tops are vertically satin brushed, and of course to an amazing standard. The cushioned sides and rounded bezel are polished, and again to a fantastic standard. It's actually quite a simple case, but suits the watch perfectly. Like all Rolex watches, the case back is plain, but it does screw down. To be honest, it's probably the least impressive part of the watch. The dial is simple yet gorgeous. The gloss black background oozes class. There is a minute track around the outer part of the dial, which then leads into the lume filled stick indices. I read somewhere the indices and hands are actually made of 22 carat white gold. At the 12 o'clock is the Rolex crown, and below that it reads Rolex Oyster Perpetual. Above the 6 o'clock index it reads, let me get this right, Superlative Chronometer, officially certified. Look very carefully and you'll see Swiss made just below the 6 o'clock index. Now going back to the lume, well, it's Rolex's proprietary lume, Chromolite, which I presume you would expect to be excellent. Well, it is. Charge this up before you go to bed. I can promise you that when you get up for a pee in the middle of the night, it's still going to be pretty legible. So let's have a look at that lume. For obvious reasons, it's got an oyster style bracelet. Now it tapers down from 20mm to 16mm, then back up to 17mm for the clasp. It does have male end links, but for a watch of this size, that really isn't a problem. Now the tops are satin brushed, while the sides are polished. Adjustment is made using very well engineered screw pins. Now surprisingly, it doesn't have quick release spring bars. I believe this watch could look fantastic on a whole selection of straps. As I don't want to scratch anything, I'm not going to be taking this bracelet off, so you're just going to have to use your own imaginations. The clasp is fully milled, and it gives you half a link's worth of adjustment. Now the clasp is kept secure by friction, which worries me a bit, but I've never heard of one coming off. Now like the bracelet, it's finely brushed, and it's got the Rolex crown pressed on it. Now even though the Oyster Perpetual is one of Rolex's cheaper watches, I am disappointed that it doesn't have the Clyde lock system. So what do I think of the Rolex Oyster Perpetual? Well, reviewing a luxury watch is a little bit different to reviewing anything else, because prestige and brand recognition is very much a part of the experience. I can without any doubt at all though tell you that when you've got a Rolex on your wrist, you know you're wearing something of quality, albeit at a price. This watch is relatively simple in design and one you're unlikely to get mugged for, mainly because that type of person is only familiar with Rolex dive watches. Strangely enough, I don't like most of the Rolex lineup, although the Milgauss is one of my grail watches, even though I believe they've stopped making it now. Now it's pointless me recommending this to you, because in reality you're not going to go out and spend thousands of pounds just because some YouTuber said he likes it. What I will say though, if you're considering one as an investment, those days may have gone, but if you want a high quality timepiece of this type, surely this has to be a consideration. That brings me to the end of this review, so I hope it's improved on the last one. If you're still awake, please click on the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Leave your comments below and enjoy the rest of your day.